This is the Unblinded Huddle. Good morning. And what this is all about is this is the place that we unlock more money, time, and magic. We free it. We actually don't unlock power of language. We free it through simple, fun, and magical micro distinctions and frictionlessness. Yes, through a formula. Influence mastery, process mastery, self-mastery. That's what we're checking in on every day. That sounds like a lot of words and a lot of concepts filled with specificity. Fernando, do you have me or no?
Yeah, we're right here.
Okay, cool. I heard some other friction. So Frank Clark, what's up, brother? Mr. Orange, Frank Clark, how are you?
I'm great, Sean. How are you today?
I'm doing great, brother. Hey, listen, here's where we're at. Mr. Orange, my first introduction to this man was at Date with Destiny. And it was, Tony does this really cool exercise. And by the way, happy Business Mastery to everybody who's participating in Business Mastery. It kicks off this morning or in a little bit. And so Frank was in the room, and different people are different colors based upon this personality system. So Frank was Mr. Orange, or is Mr. Orange, and he's like ripping the room open. It's amazing. He's captivating, 5,000 people. And so Frank, like, how did that all get started? What's Mr. Orange all about, and the Orange movement? And welcome.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah. Well, the Orange movement basically evolved from that seminar, Date with Destiny, in 2017, where Tony did an exercise on spiral dynamics, where he describes the different levels of consciousness. And as you ascend through these different levels, each one has a number and a color associated to it. But as you ascend, you become more of a giver, more of a contributor. And the very first level that happens is level 5, which is orange. And the characteristics of an orange conscious level is people that are driven and passionate for success and a little bit of adrenaline junkies and like to be significant and like to grow and like to be, in charge and maybe make the rules, maybe break a few of the rules. But, we're go-getters. We're adrenaline junkies. We're making shit happen. But we also know that at this stage of the levels of consciousness, we know that in order to be successful, we have to help other people become successful. So it's all about contribution. It's all about growing other people. And I've had a passion for helping people. I've run companies for over 30 years. And when you do that, you become the therapist, you become the, the best friend, you become the wife, the husband, all the roles you could ever imagine, right? And so I've loved helping people. I've loved coaching people. I've loved inspiring people. And so when I had the opportunity to do so at Tony Robbins, everyone came up to me, kept calling me Mr. Orange, Mr. Orange. And then I went to other seminars and everybody just kept calling me Mr. Orange and throwing business cards at me and saying, hey man, coach with me, work with me. So I'm like, God presents opportunities once in a while, right? And if you don't seize them and you don't jump on them, shame on you. So I just took the ball and ran with it. And ever since then, we've created the Orange Crushing It movement and been part of Unblinded as well, integrating that ecosystem, and just really, really happy about it. So thanks.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, Frank, so much. And I experienced that dynamic magnetic pull for that energy, which says something. Things resonate for a reason. And energetically, Orange, that rising of achievement, making things happen, there's like a resonance to it, a pull to it that's very, very real. So beautiful stuff, Frank. Now, in terms of like Unblinded, the huddle, the formula, how would you explain like the 60-second burst of what that is and how it is relevant to you? And that's, we're going to go with this format for a little bit, because instead of me explaining stuff, I want to see, check in with people. How are things impacting you, the formula, the huddle, real raw, just your quick 60 seconds on it, and what is attractive to you that's going on here.
Yeah, well, I was introduced to the Unblinded movement through the immersion seminar you did in January of this year. And at that point, I learned from you, as you spoke on stage, the formula, which is your process of getting from hello to yes through integrity-based influence. Now, I'm a sales guy. I've studied. I'm the Willie Loman type, right? Old school, carry the briefcase, And I've learned from Sandler Sales, and I've learned Wilson Counselor and Carnegie and Maxwell, all of these guys, great traditional salespeople. But none of them really took the same approach that you did, Sean, which is really this level 5 listening, distinctive listening, paying attention, really gating that bonding and rapport moment, and then influencing through your unique identity, your hero, finding the hero in somebody else, and really, really tapping into what is important to them. What's that little tiny micro distinction that opens everything up for you and allows you the opportunity to influence and get to a yes, again, through high integrity. So I was blown away by that, and I wanted to be a part of it. And so that's how I get involved with Unblinded, and that's, you know, all the aspects of it, this morning huddle, the real raws that you do, the 10 by 10s. I'm fascinated by all of it, and it's created some great growth in my own company. So thank you.
Well, thank you, brother. And so, and as we take off in these mornings, what is it like that you're pretty clear on that we could even optimize some more? That might be in another format called a question. But what's like that friction point that's the next screen for you, how you see it, that we might be able to like step in together to create some like clear, a little bit more clarity, certainty, that acceleration?
It's a good question. I think what creates clarity is when you are in like zone energy. You're in zone space, which is when you're mastering your physiology, you're mastering your mind, and you're in that space, you know, called zone, the zone, right? Where you're hitting the bullseye, where you are, you know, fully engaged. Your mind is engaged, your body is engaged. You know, getting to that state every single day to start your day off, which is one of the great things about the huddle, right? Because it kicks off your morning and gets you into that zone energy, that bullseye state. I think that's important. That, you know, people start their day with gratitude, a plan, intention, and passion. You know, what's your purpose for the day? What's your purpose in general? But what's your purpose for the day? Not the what's you need to do, not the to-do list, but why? Why is it so important that you show up today?
No, awesome. And so for you, Frank, though, what would you say is the top friction for you that you're freeing yourself of? You know, I'll go first. I'll jump in. And I would say right now, the top friction point for me and Unblinded, where I see it, is now duplication. I feel so blessed. There's so many amazing things happening. We're in a space where duplication in every dynamic of what we're doing becomes the next critical spot to ensure that we get to the place we want to go. So like our clear spot that we're freeing friction, like to unleash the next level of exponential abundance and money, time, and magic, is duplication and scaling, right? Okay. So for you, what would you say like your friction point is, and like what are you doing about it?
My friction point for me is distraction. You know, there's so much now that we're on a screen, right? And a screen can be our phone, our PC, a television, and it's easy to get pulled away. Oh, I got to check this Facebook. Oh, I just heard a notification. Oh, I just got a ding on this. Oh, I saw an email pop up. Oh, yeah, you know, so easy to get off track. And so that's a strong friction point for me. I know that I need to like lock in my time and say this hour is dedicated to this and only this. And that's the way, if you can get past all the distractions. And with this COVID situation, I think there's even more than there used to be in the past.
Yeah. So teaching sharing point for today for everybody. I got a phone call yesterday from somebody. I talked about this on the mastery call last night, that I worked with 15 years ago. And this person said, and this is right in the orange energy zone action, right? He talked about how 15 years ago, he so optimally integrated zone action. He was a real estate agent. He ended up leaving where he was. He created his own brokerage, then a second brokerage, then sold it. He's now, you know, living an extraordinary life. And he attributed his zone action, the formula, to that massive trajectory shift. He's like, just like changed everything. And he's talking about coming back in the program now. We haven't spoken in a long time, right? And so let me run through that really quickly for everybody, right? So first and foremost, we get to take care of our clients. The most powerful ecosystem we have to accelerate from is our existing client base. They produce new ecosystems, new speaking engagements. And we probably don't say that enough, right? So we talk about like growth. Keith Cunningham does a beautiful piece on this. I know you've studied Keith's work, right, Frank?
Absolutely, yeah.
And he talks about taking care of that existing client base. And so that from that existing client base comes most optimally those ecosystem mergers and speaking engagements, right? Number one, right? And second, it just feels amazing, right? To have that net promoter score flying where people are like, yes, amazing, you're incredible, Frank, you're incredible, you know, Jay Levine, and good morning, Jay, by the way, thank you for posting that in the chat. Stacy, you're amazing. You know, Dimple, you're amazing. Courtney Epps, you're amazing. Like, write down, you know, and on, right? So, so second though is if we're not actively delivering services for clients, what's the next zone action element? With rare exceptions, it's moving forward to a yes with people we've already engaged with. So that would be second, right? So who is it that we're like close? And for so many of us, we can trip into fear of failure and not follow up with the people who are right there, ready to say yes. And we're doing the next thing. We're on the next Zoom call, the next virtual speaking engagement. We're strategizing the next thing. And that's like the opposite of zone action, the opposite of orange energy, right? You know, Frank, is that we're not right there with the people who are ready to say yes. And we did all this work and a privileged window, as Robert Cialdini talks about in Influence, a privileged window of energy, of influence opens, and then it closes. And we lost time and the energy. Frank, thoughts on that? That's number two, but any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, you invest more money to go get a client, right? And that's where your biggest expense is. And it's a lot less money to keep a client, right? I mean, there's 3 rules of business: get a customer, make a profit, and keep a customer. I mean, if we kept all the customers we always had, right, we wouldn't be worried about chasing them after a while, right? 80-20 rule, right? 80% of your business comes from 20% of your clients. Make sure you don't lose those 20%.
Yeah. And I often, Frank and everybody here, you know, I share my losses, I share my wins. Sometimes, you know, you may not forget the losses that I share. But at Business Mastery 2, I did a value chain breakdown exercise. And I calculated that we lost about $35 million in revenue over, it was about a 5-year period because, ready for this, everybody? We did a phenomenal job of delivering services for our clients at Callagy Law. They were thrilled with the quality of the work. Nobody was better. But we had a value chain breakdown in our connection with them and other lawyers, and we became in New Jersey like the behemoth of medical revenue recovery, right? But other attorneys picked off our clients here, there, slowly over time, because they were spending some more connection energy. Like they were more connected with them. And they did, in many of these situations, I know they were doing a dramatically suboptimal job. And how I knew it is because I could look at the number of cases they were filing on behalf of these physicians and hospitals. And yet they had to work because they had a closer relationship. So inferior work we lost to, right? We lost to inferior work because of superior connection and relationship. So you talk about why we discuss the real raw so much and other dynamics, because they're incubators for relationships. They're ways to have fun, create energy, to do different things. And we're at our height, we had a different group of people that were servicing clients in certain ways at Callagy Law. And the people that came in were so phenomenal at clinically delivering the service of like getting files, delivering on outcomes. The system was incredible, but we lost in some of the relationships. So people like melted away. So the dynamic, right, that Frank and I are speaking into right now is to not only deliver your services optimally, but to make sure people are dialed into how optimal it is, right? And they have the buying criteria, the staying criteria, and they feel seen, heard, and understood, right? So third category is, right, so first it's taking care of the client. Second, not only in servicing them, doing the work, but connecting, right, as an entity, as an enterprise. And that, as we're sitting here at Unblinded, we're solving for these challenges all the time. That's why we're doing morning huddles, we're doing all these different things, and we're adding and adding and adding. Like, what do we need to do in written communication? What do we need to do in video? What other things can we do in live and in light of COVID, et cetera? Second is zone actions, moving forward with clients that are there at agreement formation. Third is to be making sure we're merging ecosystems effectively. I would say and the sales meetings we could be having that we're having, actually, no, incorrect. We should be having our sales meetings most, right? Sales meetings, it's not a it's sales meetings. If we can have a sales meeting with somebody, we want to conduct it. Fourth would be having appropriate ecosystem merger meetings, right? Fifth will be setting up the ecosystem mergers, right? Fifth will be setting up those ecosystem mergers, right? And at the ecosystem merger level, it will be decreasing, at step 4, decreasing friction over time. So that's like the hierarchy of how we attack our zone action. And Frank, we're keeping these huddles tight these days. Any thoughts on that, or final from you, brother?
Well, you talk about, relationship and retention of a customer. Just a quick point is that when you get a customer, the value to that customer is usually 10x what they spent with you the first time, if you can realize that, right? The second thing I always believe in, and we both learned this at Tony Robbins, was the 6 human needs, right? If you maintain the significant certainty, variety, growth, contribution, and love, you create that with every customer and create that relationship, that bond, you'll never lose a customer. But we tend to fall away from making them feel certain. We tend to fall away from that constant contribution, right? Giving back, but we don't have to, right? The contribution can be as simple as a hello. Hey, I appreciate you. A handwritten card. You know, I know things aren't going, you know, how are you doing through this COVID situation, right? Paying attention. Those are the tiny things that create raving fans, clients for life. And we tend to fall away from that. You know, too much profit, too much cash flow, and not enough attention to the smaller details that make the biggest impact.
Oh, and thank you for that, brother. And you have an upcoming launch for yourself. And what's that looking like, and when is that?
Well, tonight I'm doing just a little quick masterclass on just this topic, also about how to retain clients. You know, through this epidemic, people are looking at MLMs and affiliate marketing programs. And what does it take to really own a client? So I'll be talking about 6 human needs and talking about the things that are important to get a customer, but also what are some of the legal things that are circulating right now about how do you own a customer and how do you protect them through your CRM? So I'll have a CRM expert and a lawyer on tonight. That's at 8 o'clock Eastern time. And also other masterminds and other programs that I'll be offering. So, but that's the kickoff tonight.
And who's the attorney coming in?
His name is Tom Stanton. He's a good
Awesome.
friend of mine here in Tampa, Florida.
That is awesome. Well, say hello to Tom. Amazing job. Beautiful. And thank you, Mr. Orange Frank Clark, on this Why Wednesday. Fernando, any final, brother?
Final. Thank you, gentlemen, for the discussion, the conversation today. Very just precise language. Love what we spoke about here, and movement, you know, for everyone to like feel the magic, taking care of the customer, you know, multiplying, just like the power of all that. The number of hours we spend at Unblinded with Frank, with all of you, discussing your wins, what we can do together, the magic that's happening, the mergers that are taking place, the 8 a.m. student calls, the conversations that we're having there with Teresa, Jay, Ron Brooks, Dr. Michelle Gamble, you know, Karen, Nita. It's just incredible, you know, what's happening and the amount of time that we spend in the thoughts of merging within the Unblinded movement. And thank you. Thank you for that opportunity. Thank you, Frank, you know, for being Mr. Orange. And thank you, Mr. Callaghy, for the creation and discovery of this beautiful formula. Back to you.
Yeah. Final. Containers, right? For ecosystem merging, speaking with love and respect elevates from podcast and Zoom call. And if you're going to be on podcast, Zoom call, what's your call to action? What are you bringing people back to in your ecosystem? And if that's not possible, right, conserve your time, zone action, right? Add massive value, but it's required to receive some value, right? Cherish your time and investment of energy, your money, time, energy, right? Like cherish it, give and receive so you can have that legacy, that destiny, all those things driving you forward on this Why Wednesday materialize and the energy not deplete but increase, right? So as you win, have wins. And what are those wins? Those mini wins, those accelerated wins that are keeping you moving forward every single day. It's Why Wednesday. Have a beautiful and incredible day. Thanks.